Rami stood at the edge of the desert watching the sun rise over the golden dunes. The heat of the morning had not yet arrived, and the sand shimmered softly under the pale light. Ahead, half buried in the sand, was the entrance to a pyramid no one had seen for centuries. He tightened the straps of his backpack and looked at his small team. "Are we ready?" he asked. Lena, the engineer, nodded, her eyes bright with excitement. Omar, the historian, adjusted his glasses and frowned at the markings near the entrance. Nina, the robotics specialist, was already checking the small drones that hovered at her side. "This place is unusual," Omar said, pointing to the worn inscriptions. "The glyphs warn that anyone who enters without respect will face the pharaoh's wrath." "We must be careful," Rami smiled. "Curse or not, we will learn what lies inside. We are explorers, not thieves." The team carefully stepped onto the sand and moved toward the pyramid. The entrance was narrow, almost hidden, and covered with layers of dust and debris. Lena cleared the stones blocking the way while Nina sent a small scanning drone into the dark passage. The drone's light reflected off walls decorated with gold and hieroglyphs, revealing patterns that had not been touched for thousands of years. "Look at this," Omar whispered, tracing the symbols. "These tell of a pharaoh who had treasures unlike any other. They say he built traps to protect his vault from anyone who tried to steal it." The team entered the pyramid. The air inside was cool but dry, and the smell of old stone filled their nostrils. Every step echoed softly, reminding them how empty and silent the place was. Rami switched on his headlamp and scanned the walls. The hieroglyphs glowed faintly under the light of his torch, giving the impression that the pyramid was alive. As they moved deeper, the passage narrowed. The walls were lined with strange markings, some of which looked like eyes staring at the explorers. Rami shook his head. "It is just the design, nothing more," but Omar was not convinced. "These are warnings. I can feel that they are not just symbols. They are messages meant to protect the pharaoh's secrets." Lena reached a heavy stone door blocked by an old lock. She studied it carefully. "This is mechanical, but it's very advanced for its time. I think I can open it with the right tools." Nina handed her a small device. "Use this to scan the mechanisms. It can read the pressure points and movement paths. It should help you avoid any danger." Working together, Lena and Nina slowly unlocked the door. With a loud rumble, the stone shifted, revealing a chamber beyond. The room was dark, but a faint golden glow came from inside. As the team stepped forward, the light grew brighter, revealing walls covered with gold leaf and murals of the pharaoh surrounded by his treasures. Rami's eyes widened. "It's real. The stories were true." Omar knelt to examine the floor. "Look at this pattern. It is a warning. The pharaoh's mummies were placed to guard the vault. They were not meant to be disturbed." Rami moved closer to a large stone sarcophagus. Its lid was decorated with gold and gemstones. "We must be careful. We are here to study, not to take anything." Suddenly, the floor beneath them trembled slightly. Dust fell from the ceiling, and a soft echoing sound filled the chamber. Nina's drone moved forward and hovered near the far wall. The light reflected off something moving. "Did you see that?" Lena whispered. Rami nodded slowly. "Yes, something is watching us. We should stay alert." The team spread out carefully, observing every corner of the room. Shadows moved in ways that did not match the flicker of their lights. The sense of being watched grew stronger with every step. Rami held up his hand. "Stop, we need to be quiet. Let's study this room first. Any sudden movement could trigger something." Omar examined the murals on the wall. "The pharaoh is shown with warriors. They look like soldiers, but the details are strange. Their eyes are painted in a way that seems alive. It is as if they can see us." Lena moved to a small pedestal in the corner. It had a strange device, possibly a key or a control for the door they passed. She studied it carefully. "I think this controls the inner vault. It is connected to traps. We must not touch it carelessly." Rami turned to the team. "Our goal is to explore, take notes, and record everything. We do not disturb the sarcophagi. We respect the pharaoh and his treasures. That is the only way we leave safely." As they began taking measurements and recording data, the faint echoing sound returned. It grew louder, like footsteps in the distance, but no one was there. The team froze. "It is probably just the wind," Rami said, trying to calm himself and the others. But deep inside, he knew that this pyramid held more than gold and history. It held guardians, secrets, and perhaps the curse that had warned the world for centuries. The adventure had just begun, and every step forward was a step into the unknown. Rami took a deep breath and led the team further into the chamber. Each step echoed in the silence, each shadow seemed to move on its own, and each heartbeat reminded them that they were not alone. The pharaoh's treasure was waiting, and so were the guardians who had sworn to protect it forever. The chamber was quiet now, but the air felt heavier. Rami led his team along a narrow corridor that stretched deep into the pyramid. The walls were covered in ancient hieroglyphs, some painted in gold, others etched into stone. The glow from their lamps reflected softly, making the symbols appear to move as if alive. "Look at this pattern," Omar said, pointing to a series of symbols along the wall. "It tells a story of the pharaoh's guardians. They were placed here to protect the treasure for eternity. Anyone who tried to steal it would never leave." Rami nodded but tried to hide his unease. "We are here to study, not to steal. That is why we must proceed carefully." Lena examined a large stone door at the end of the corridor. Its surface was covered with carvings of snakes and scarabs. "This door is different," she said. "It has a locking mechanism I have never seen before. If we trigger it incorrectly, it could collapse or activate a trap." Nina floated her small drone closer. The sensors picked up faint movements in the shadows beyond the door. "Something is alive in there," she said quietly. "Or at least something moves. We need to be careful." Rami stepped forward, placing his hand on the door. He felt a slight vibration under his fingers. "It's mechanical, but also strange. Almost like it is sensing us," Omar frowned. The pharaoh's engineers were brilliant. They combined technology and magic in ways we do not fully understand. That is why these guardians have lasted so long. Lena began working on the lock, using her tools and the drone's scanning device. Slowly, the mechanisms began to move, clicking and shifting as the door began to slide open. The chamber beyond was filled with a soft golden light that seemed to come from the walls themselves. Rami led the team inside, careful with every step. The room was larger than they expected, filled with statues of soldiers, animals, and strange machines that hummed faintly. At the far end, they saw several sarcophagi, their lids decorated with gold and gemstones. "Are these real mummies?" Lena whispered. Omar nodded. "Yes, they were placed here to protect the pharaoh. But look at the way they are positioned. They are not just resting. They are guarding, waiting for someone to approach." As the team moved closer to examine the sarcophagi, the air shifted. A soft, almost imperceptible movement brushed past them. The shadows along the walls seemed to stretch as if watching. Rami felt a shiver run down his spine. "Stay close," he said. "We are here to study, not to touch." Nina's drone hovered near one of the sarcophagi and its sensors detected a faint energy field. "This is strange," she said. "The sarcophagus is not empty. It has a field surrounding it. I think it is some kind of protection system." Rami looked at Omar. "Protection system? Do you think it could still work after all these years?" Omar nodded. "It is possible. The pharaoh wanted his treasures safe forever. Those who designed this were clever. They could have built defenses that respond to intruders." Suddenly, a soft grinding noise echoed through the chamber. The sarcophagi lids shifted slightly, moving as if something inside had noticed them. Lena stepped back, her tools clattering to the floor. "What was that?" she asked. Rami raised his hand to silence the team. "We need to stay calm. Observe, do not panic." The shadows along the walls grew darker, stretching toward the center of the room. The air became colder, and a faint glow appeared around the eyes of the mummies. They were awake. Not fully, but alert. Their movements were slow, deliberate, and powerful. Omar whispered, "The legends were true. They are still guarding the pharaoh's treasure." Rami's heart beat faster. "We do not want to fight. We are here to study and respect. That must be clear to them." The team moved carefully through the chamber, keeping a respectful distance from the sarcophagi. Nina's drone scanned every corner, picking up tiny vibrations in the floor. They were like footsteps, but there was no one visible. Lena examined a small control panel near the wall. "I think this is part of the security system. If we activate it incorrectly, it could trigger a trap." Rami nodded. "Do not touch anything. Only observe. We must show respect for the pharaoh and his guardians." As they moved toward the far side of the chamber, the sarcophagi seemed to follow them with their gaze. The glowing eyes of the mummies made it clear that they were not ordinary dead. They were guardians, alive in some way, programmed to protect the treasure forever. Omar spoke softly. "This is more than history. This is a lesson." The pharaoh wanted to teach that respect is more powerful than greed. The team continued through the chamber, carefully recording data and taking notes. Every step was slow and deliberate. The mummies moved silently, their bodies gliding over the stone floor with ease. The sense of being watched never left the team, but they pressed on, driven by curiosity and the desire to learn. At the end of the chamber, they found another door smaller than the first, but covered with more intricate carvings. Symbols of the sun, the moon, and stars surrounded it, glowing faintly in the dim light. "This must lead to the inner vault," Rami said. "The real treasure is behind this door." Omar nodded. "Yes, but it will be even more heavily guarded. The pharaoh did not make it easy to enter." Rami looked at his team. "We continue together. We show respect. We study carefully. If we do that, we may learn the secrets of the pharaoh without angering his guardians." They paused for a moment, taking a deep breath. The chamber was quiet again, but the feeling of being watched remained. With steady steps and careful hearts, they moved toward the inner vault, knowing that the greatest challenges and the greatest discoveries were still ahead. The corridor beyond the golden chamber was narrower and darker. The walls were lined with carvings that glowed faintly as if responding to the team's presence. Rami led the way, holding his torch high. Lena and Nina followed closely, while Omar examined the symbols etched on the walls. "This is remarkable," Omar whispered. "These glyphs describe traps and guardians in detail. The pharaoh made sure that only those who respected his legacy could reach the treasure." Rami nodded, his eyes scanning the shadows. "Respect is the only rule we follow. We do not disturb, we do not steal. We only learn." As they moved further, the corridor suddenly opened into a small chamber. In the center was a sarcophagus unlike the others. Its lid was covered with strange symbols, and a faint golden light seemed to pulse from within. Lena stepped closer. "This one is different. It has some kind of energy field. I have never seen anything like it." Nina floated her drone forward. The sensors picked up faint vibrations around the sarcophagus. "It is active," she said quietly. "Something inside is aware of us." Rami raised a hand. "Observe only. We do not touch." Suddenly, the sarcophagus lid began to shift. A deep grinding noise echoed through the chamber. Dust fell from the ceiling and the soft glow from the lid grew brighter. The team froze. Then slowly a figure began to rise. Linen wrappings fell away from a tall mummy wearing ceremonial armor. Its eyes glowed faintly with a golden light. It did not move quickly, but its presence filled the chamber with a sense of power. Omar whispered. The legends were true. The pharaoh's guardians still watch over his treasure. Rami took a careful step forward. "We do not mean any harm. We only study and respect your master's legacy." The mummy paused as if sensing his words. It moved with deliberate precision, stepping toward the center of the room. The air felt colder, and the glow from its eyes seemed to reach into the team's minds, testing their intentions. Lena gripped her tools tightly. "It is alive in some way," she said. "But it is not attacking yet." Nina's drone hovered near the ceiling. "It is reacting to us. Perhaps it can sense our purpose. If we are careful, it may not harm us." Rami nodded. "Stay calm. We are explorers, not thieves." The mummy continued to rise fully, standing tall in the center of the chamber. It turned slowly, surveying the team. Its movements were precise, as if it had been waiting for them for centuries. Omar studied the wall nearby. "Look at the symbols. They show a way to prove respect to the guardians. Offer knowledge, not greed, and the path will open." Rami took a deep breath and stepped closer. "We honor the pharaoh. We seek only to learn from his wisdom." He lowered his hands, showing no threat. The mummy paused, then moved back slightly. Its eyes dimmed, and the pulsing glow from its sarcophagus slowed. It was a test, and Rami's words and intentions had passed it. Lena exhaled quietly. "That was close," Rami nodded. "We are safe, but we must move carefully. There may be more like this guarding the treasure." The team continued through the chamber, keeping their distance from the sarcophagi. They examined the walls and documented every symbol, careful not to touch anything. The mummies remained in the center, watching silently but not pursuing them. At the far end of the chamber, a heavy stone door stood closed. Symbols of the sun, moon, and stars surrounded it. Rami approached slowly. "This must lead to the inner vault. The real treasure is beyond this door." Omar examined the carvings. "There are warnings here. Only those with respect and knowledge can enter safely. Any false step could activate traps or awaken more guardians." Lena studied the door mechanism. "It is advanced, but I think I can unlock it." Carefully, without triggering anything, Nina's drone scanned the doorway. I detect faint energy readings. The Guardian's field extends through this door. We must move as one, slowly and deliberately. Rami nodded. We do this together. No rushing, no mistakes. Respect first, curiosity second. Lena began working on the door. She traced the carvings using her tools and the drone's sensors to detect pressure points. Slowly, carefully, the stone shifted. A soft grinding echoed through the chamber. The mummy in the center watched silently. Its golden eyes followed every movement. The team felt the weight of its gaze, but they did not stop. They moved with care and caution, understanding that their survival depended on respect and intelligence. Finally, the door opened, revealing a long hallway. The glow of the walls grew brighter, reflecting off polished stone floors. The air smelled faintly of ancient incense preserved by the sealed chambers. This is it, Rami whispered. The path to the inner vault. The treasure is close, but the real test has only begun. Omar nodded. We have passed the first challenge. The Guardians are testing our intentions. Beyond this door, we may face more than just mummies. We must stay alert. The team stepped forward together, their lamps lighting the way. The glowing symbols on the walls seemed to pulse in response to their movement. Every step was careful, deliberate, and respectful. As they advanced, the faint sound of grinding stone echoed behind them. The first Guardian returned to its sarcophagus, watching silently. The team knew they had passed the first test, but the pyramid still held many secrets, traps, and challenges. Rami led the way, determined and cautious. The pharaoh's treasure was near and the Guardians were awake. Every step into the pyramid brought them closer to knowledge, but also closer to the trials that would determine if they were worthy. The hallway after the Guardian chamber was narrow and winding. The walls were smooth stone, carved with intricate patterns of the sun, stars, and strange symbols that seemed to shimmer under their lights. Rami led the team carefully, every step slow and deliberate. Lena followed closely, keeping her tools ready, while Nina's drone hovered near the ceiling, scanning for hidden dangers. Omar walked behind, studying the symbols on the walls. This corridor is different, Omar whispered. The carvings suggest traps. Some of these symbols show collapsing floors, spikes, and doors that lock automatically. The pharaoh wanted to make sure only the worthy could proceed. Rami nodded. Then we must stay alert. Observe everything and trust no step is safe. The team moved cautiously. The floor was uneven in places, with faint cracks hidden under layers of dust. Every time they stepped near a wall, faint vibrations ran through the stone, almost like a warning. Lena knelt to inspect a section of the floor. These markings look like pressure plates, she said. If we step on them incorrectly, something could activate. Nina's drone scanned ahead. I can detect faint energy fields in some sections. They seem to connect with the pressure plates. We need to mark them before stepping. Rami carefully measured each step, using small rods to test the floor. The team followed his lead, moving one by one across the corridor. Shadows seemed to move along with them, though there was no one there. This is like a puzzle, Omar said. The pharaoh designed it to test intelligence and patience. Only those who think before acting can pass safely. Suddenly, a section of the wall shifted. A panel slid open, revealing a small pit filled with spikes. The team jumped back in time, hearts racing. Lena examined the mechanism. It is triggered by pressure. If we had stepped without checking, we would have fallen. Rami nodded. This confirms what Omar said. The pharaoh's traps are not just for protection. They are lessons. We must respect them and think carefully. They continued through the corridor, encountering more traps, swinging stone blades that moved in patterns, false floors that hid deep pits, and narrow ledges over chasms. Lena and Nina worked together to disable or mark dangerous sections. Omar translated symbols that provided hints on safe paths, combining ancient knowledge with modern observation. At one point, they reached a large room with a high ceiling. In the center, a circular platform was surrounded by a shallow pit filled with stones. The platform had intricate carvings that seemed to form a puzzle. This is a test, Omar said. The carvings suggest we must place objects in the correct positions to open the door on the other side. Rami stepped forward. He studied the symbols carefully, moving small stones from the pit onto the platform in the correct order. Lena helped, aligning them with precision. As the last stone clicked into place, the platform trembled, and the door on the far side slowly slid open. The team exhaled, relieved. "We are learning," Rami said. "Each step is dangerous, but careful thought keeps us safe." Beyond the door, the corridor became narrower again. The walls now had glowing symbols that pulsed faintly as they passed. The air grew colder, and faint whispers seemed to echo around them. The mummies' presence from the previous chamber still lingered, though they remained in their sarcophagi watching silently. Lena paused. "I think the guardians can sense us even from the other room. That glow changes when we move closer or farther. They are aware of our intentions." Nina nodded. "Yes, it is like the pyramid itself is alive. It watches, reacts, and protects. We cannot rush. We must respect every chamber." The team reached another chamber larger than the first, filled with statues of warriors and strange machines. The walls were covered with murals showing the pharaoh's life, battles, and treasures. In the center, a small altar held a glowing orb. Omar stepped forward carefully. "This is a test of wisdom. The orb represents knowledge. Only those who approach without greed can touch it safely." Rami approached slowly. He reached out and touched the orb lightly. The glow spread across the room, illuminating hidden pathways and symbols. A section of the wall slid open, revealing another corridor leading deeper into the pyramid. "The pharaoh's trials are clear," Rami said. "We must prove respect, intelligence, and patience. Only then will the path to the treasure open fully." The team moved forward together, now more confident but still cautious. Every step brought them closer to the inner vault. They had passed the first major challenge, the maze of traps and puzzles. The mummy's presence reminded them that they were not alone, and that the pharaoh's guardians would always watch. As they walked, the corridor narrowed again. The walls pulsed with light, responding to their movement. Faint echoes of grinding stone and soft whispers reminded them that the pyramid's secrets were alive. Every step was a test, but the team continued with courage and careful thought. Finally, they reached a large stone door with carvings of the sun and stars. Rami examined it closely. "This is it, the door to the main treasure chamber. The pharaoh's greatest secrets are beyond this door." Omar nodded. "And it will be guarded by more than traps. The mummies themselves may watch over it directly. We must move with wisdom and respect." Lena checked the lock mechanisms. "It is advanced, but I can work it, slowly and carefully." Nina's drone hovered nearby. "Sensors detect faint energy. The Guardian's presence extends here. We must not rush or act without thought." Rami looked at his team. "We have passed the maze. The next chamber will test everything we have learned: patience, intelligence, and respect. Together we can face it." With steady steps, the team prepared to open the final door to the pharaoh's main treasure chamber. Each heart beat faster, knowing that the greatest challenge was still ahead. The guardians were awake, the traps were ready, and the secrets of the pharaoh waited to test them once more. The massive stone door loomed before them, covered with golden symbols of the sun, moon, and stars. Its carvings pulsed faintly, almost as if the pyramid itself was aware of their presence. Rami took a deep breath and stepped closer, signaling the team to follow. "We must move carefully," he said. "This is the pharaoh's inner vault. The greatest treasures are beyond this door, but so are the greatest risks." Omar studied the carvings. "The glyphs suggest that the guardians are strongest here. We will need intelligence, patience, and respect to proceed safely." Lena knelt to examine the lock mechanism. "It is unlike anything I have seen," she said. "But I can slowly unlock it without triggering any traps." Nina hovered her drone near the top of the door. Sensors detect energy fields and patterns. They are synchronized with the carvings. Any wrong step could activate defenses. Rami nodded. "Then we do this together. Slow, steady, careful. We are here to learn, not to steal." Lena worked. methodically, tracing the patterns and pressing small pressure points. The stone shifted slightly, creaking as it moved. The symbols glowed brighter as the door slowly opened, revealing the inner vault beyond. The room was immense, larger than anything the team had imagined. Golden light reflected from walls covered with treasures, chests filled with gemstones, statues adorned with precious metals and artifacts of unknown purpose. In the center, a large sarcophagus rested on a raised platform, surrounded by several mummies in ceremonial armor. Their eyes glowed faintly with golden light, and they moved with slow, deliberate precision, patrolling the chamber. Rami stepped carefully into the room. "Stay calm. Do not make sudden movements. We observe, we study, we respect," Omar whispered. "The legend said these guardians could sense intentions. They are alive in some way. If they sense greed, the chamber becomes dangerous." The mummies paused, turning their glowing eyes toward the intruders. The team froze, showing no signs of aggression or threat. One of the guardians stepped closer to the sarcophagus, examining Rami with deliberate scrutiny. Lena whispered, "They are testing us. They are not attacking because they are judging our purpose." Rami moved slowly toward the sarcophagus. "We honor the pharaoh and his legacy. We seek only knowledge, not wealth or power," he said quietly. The mummies remained still, their eyes observing every movement. The glow around the sarcophagus pulsed gently, as if responding to Rami's words. The chamber was quiet except for the soft hum of the glowing walls. Omar studied the murals along the walls. These tell a story of the pharaoh's life, his victories, and the treasures he gathered. They are meant to teach respect and wisdom. Only those who understand can move safely. The team spread out carefully, examining the artifacts without touching anything. Lena inspected a small chest of gemstones, taking careful notes. Nina hovered her drone over the sarcophagus, scanning for energy readings. Suddenly, a low grinding noise echoed through the chamber. The mummies moved closer, forming a slow circle around the sarcophagus. The team froze, hearts pounding. Rami spoke calmly. "We mean no harm. We are here to learn. We respect the guardians and their duty." The mummies paused, their glowing eyes shifting from Rami to the team and back. The pulsing light from the sarcophagus grew brighter, but no attack followed. The guardians seemed to approve, allowing the team to continue their careful study. Omar whispered, "The pharaoh's wisdom is clear. He wanted knowledge to survive, not theft." The guardians respond to respect. Lena examined a small panel near the sarcophagus. "This appears to control the central treasure. If we touch it without understanding, we could trigger a trap or alert the guardians." Rami nodded. "We study from a distance. Observe, record, and learn. That is our duty." The team moved through the chamber slowly, documenting every artifact. Some items were clearly valuable, made of gold and gemstones. Others were mysterious, with symbols and designs no one recognized. The mummies continued their slow patrol, observing the team carefully but not interfering. Finally, Rami reached the platform near the sarcophagus. He knelt and placed his hands together, showing respect to the pharaoh and the guardians. The golden glow from the sarcophagus brightened, and a soft vibration filled the room. The mummy stepped back, forming a protective circle but leaving the center clear. Omar whispered, "This is the ultimate test. Respect and intention are the key. They will allow those who honor the pharaoh to leave safely with knowledge." Rami carefully examined the sarcophagus from a safe distance. He noted the designs, inscriptions, and symbols. Lena recorded the mechanical systems and Nina scanned the energy patterns. Every action was deliberate, thoughtful, and respectful. Time passed slowly as the team worked. The mummy's eyes never left them, but they did not attack. It was as if the guardians were teaching patience and careful observation. The chamber was alive with history, wisdom, and protection. At last, Rami stood. "We have learned much. We have proven respect. The pharaoh's treasures are here, but our duty is knowledge, not greed." The mummies remained still, their glowing eyes dimming slightly. The pulsing light from the sarcophagus slowed. It was a silent acknowledgement that the team had passed the test. The guardians returned to their positions, keeping watch over the pharaoh's treasure. Rami turned to his team. "We record everything carefully and leave. We have gained knowledge, not wealth. That is the way to honor the pharaoh and his guardians." The team nodded. Each step back toward the exit was slow and deliberate. The glow from the walls dimmed slightly as they left, and the heavy stone door closed behind them with a soft rumble. Outside the chamber, the team exhaled, relief and excitement mixing together. They had faced the pharaoh's greatest challenge and survived with respect and wisdom. The mummies continued their silent patrol, keeping the secrets of the vault safe. Rami smiled. We have learned what the pharaoh wanted us to know. Knowledge and respect are the true treasures, Omar nodded, and the guardians reminded us that the past must be honored. Their purpose is clear, and we have proven ourselves worthy of learning from it. Lena and Nina shared quiet smiles. The adventure had tested their skills, patience, and respect, but they had succeeded. They had entered the pharaoh's inner vault and left with knowledge, insight, and a deeper understanding of the past. The pyramid was silent again, but the glow from the inner vault hinted that the guardians were always watching. The treasure remained protected, and the pharaoh's legacy continued, waiting for those who approached with respect and intelligence. The team stood just outside the inner vault, catching their breath. The chamber had tested their skills, patience, and respect. Now they faced another challenge, one that was quieter but heavier: the choice of what to take from the pharaoh's treasure. Rami looked at the golden artifacts, the gemstones, and the strange devices they could barely understand. We can take some items for study, he said carefully. But we must remember what the guardians taught us. The pharaoh valued knowledge above wealth. Omar nodded. There are powerful objects here. Some could be dangerous if taken into the wrong hands. The true treasure is learning, not gold or gems. Lena picked up a small carved statue. This is beautiful, but we need to think. Do we take it or leave it? The guardians are still watching. They know our intentions. Nina hovered her drone near the center of the chamber. The sensors showed faint energy fields around certain artifacts. These fields are strongest around the largest items, she said. The guardians want to protect them. Taking them could trigger something we do not understand. Rami closed his eyes for a moment. He felt the weight of responsibility pressing on him. Every decision mattered. Every action would show whether they had truly learned the lesson of the pharaoh. Finally, he spoke. We take only small, safe artifacts, things we can study without disturbing the balance of the vault. We leave the dangerous items untouched. That is our duty and our respect for the pharaoh and his guardians. The team agreed. Carefully, they selected a few scrolls, small artifacts, and mechanical devices that could be studied safely. Lena documented each item, while Nina's drone scanned energy levels to ensure nothing harmful was taken. Omar recorded details of the larger treasures they left behind, so their knowledge would be preserved even if the items stayed in the vault. As they moved through the chamber, the mummies observed silently. Their glowing eyes followed every step, measuring intentions and respect. The air pulsed faintly as if the guardians themselves were testing the team one final time. Rami knelt near the sarcophagus at the center. He bowed his head and spoke quietly. We honor the pharaoh and his legacy. We take only what is safe and we leave the rest. We respect your duty and wisdom. The mummies paused. Their glow intensified briefly, then dimmed slightly, signaling acknowledgement. They did not attack, and the pulsing energy of the chamber became calm. The guardians had accepted the team's choices. Omar whispered. The pharaoh's final test is clear. Knowledge over greed, respect over desire. We have passed it. Lena smiled softly. It feels good to know we did the right thing. We could have taken more, but this way, we honor the past. Nina hovered the drone over the sarcophagus and scanned it once more. Sensors confirmed that the guardians' energy fields are calm. The chamber is stable. We have not disturbed the balance. Rami stood holding the small artifacts carefully. We leave now and the pharaoh's treasure remains protected. The guardians have tested us and allowed us to learn. That is the greatest reward. The team moved slowly back toward the exit. Every step was careful, mindful of the traps and energy fields they had passed before. The mummies followed briefly, then returned to their positions, patrolling silently. The chamber pulsed softly with golden light, a reminder of the guardians' eternal vigilance. Outside the vault, the air felt warmer. The team exhaled collectively, relief mixing with excitement. They had faced the pharaoh's greatest challenge and succeeded without greed, without harm, and with full respect. Rami turned to the team. We have learned more than we expected. The pharaoh wanted us to understand that respect, patience, and intelligence are more valuable than gold or jewels. We have passed his test, Omar nodded, and we have proven ourselves worthy of this knowledge. The guardians watched and they accepted our intentions. That is more important than any treasure we could take. Lena looked at the artifacts in her hands. We have enough to study, to learn, and to share responsibly. That is what matters. Nina hovered her drone near the exit. The sensors show that the vault is secure. The Guardians are back in position. The Pharaoh's legacy is intact, and so is ours. We leave as scholars, not as thieves. Rami smiled, feeling a sense of accomplishment. We have faced the tests, survived the traps, and earned the trust of the Guardians. This is the greatest achievement we could have hoped for. As they left the chamber and returned to the corridor, the golden light from the inner vault faded. The soft hum of energy remained, a quiet reminder that the Guardians never rested. The Pharaoh's treasures would stay protected, and the mummies would continue their silent watch, waiting for anyone who approached with disrespect or greed. Outside the pyramid, the sun was high in the sky. The desert stretched endlessly, golden and bright. The team took a moment to look back at the entrance, feeling the weight of the adventure they had completed. Rami spoke quietly. We have done more than discover a treasure. We have learned lessons about respect, wisdom, and responsibility. That is the true reward of this journey. Omar nodded, and we will share that knowledge. The Pharaoh's legacy will continue, not through wealth, but through understanding and respect for the past. Lena and Nina smiled, feeling proud of their choices and careful steps. The adventure had tested their courage, skill, and judgment, but they had succeeded with honor. Rami led the team across the sand, carrying the small, safe artifacts. They left the pyramid behind, but its lessons stayed with them. The Pharaoh's guardians remained inside, silent and eternal, protecting the treasure and ensuring that only the worthy could learn from it. The journey had tested them, shaped them, and reminded them of the greatest lesson the Pharaoh had left behind. Knowledge, respect, and wisdom were the true treasures of the world. The team emerged from the pyramid into the bright sunlight. The desert stretched endlessly before them, golden and warm. The sand glittered under the midday sun, and a gentle breeze carried the scent of dry earth. For a moment, none of them spoke. They simply looked back at the ancient structure, its secrets hidden behind heavy stone walls and guarded by timeless mummies. Rami adjusted his backpack and turned to his team. We have done what few could. We entered the Pharaoh's inner vault, faced his guardians, and learned without greed. That is an achievement greater than any treasure. Omar nodded, still catching his breath. The Pharaoh's wisdom is clear. His true treasure is knowledge, patience, and respect. We have gained that. The mummies watched us, tested us, and judged us worthy. Lena smiled, holding the small artifacts they had carefully chosen. These are enough for study. We did not disturb the balance. The vault remains protected, and the Pharaoh's legacy is safe. That feels like the right way to leave. Nina's drone hovered nearby, scanning the pyramid one last time. Energy readings show the Guardians have returned to their patrol positions. The vault is secure. The Pharaoh's legacy will remain intact, waiting for those who are worthy. Rami took a deep breath, feeling the weight of the experience settle in his mind. Every step in that pyramid taught us something. We learned to move with caution, to think before acting, and to respect forces far greater than ourselves. These lessons are the greatest reward. Omar pointed to the horizon. The desert has not changed in thousands of years, and neither has the pyramid. But we have changed. We understand what it means to be explorers, not thieves. We know that knowledge is more valuable than gold. Lena turned her gaze back to the entrance. I keep thinking about the mummies. They were alive in a way I never imagined. Not just protecting, but teaching. They tested our intentions and gave us the chance to prove ourselves. Rami smiled. That is why the Pharaoh's plan worked so well. The Guardians are not just defenders. They are teachers. And we passed their test. We learned lessons that will last a lifetime. The team began walking toward their transport, their footsteps soft on the warm sand. Each carried a small portion of the safe artifacts, documenting their findings carefully. The desert stretched before them, endless and still, but the pyramid remained behind, glowing faintly in the sunlight as if aware of their departure. As they walked, Rami spoke. The adventure is over, but the lessons will stay with us. We will share our knowledge, but we must also respect the past. We cannot take what we do not understand or cannot protect. Omar nodded. The Pharaoh created a system that survives centuries. The mummies will remain vigilant. Anyone who approaches with greed will fail, just as history has always shown. The Guardians ensure that the treasures remain safe and that knowledge continues to be the reward for those who respect it. Lena glanced back one last time. I wonder how many have tried to enter and failed. The traps, the puzzles, the mummies, they do not forgive mistakes. We were lucky and careful, but we also respected their rules. Nina hovered her drone over the pyramid entrance. Sensors confirm everything is stable. The Guardian's presence is strong but calm. They are still waiting for those who come with honor, wisdom, and patience. Rami smiled softly. That is the legacy we carry now. We leave the pyramid unharmed, wiser, and with knowledge. That is what explorers should do. That is what humanity should strive for. The team reached their transport at the edge of the desert. They paused, taking a final look at the distant pyramid. The sun reflected off the golden walls, giving the impression that the structure itself was alive, watching, and approving of their choices. Omar said quietly, "This will be a story we tell carefully. Not about riches or fame, but about lessons learned and respect shown. That is the true way to honor the pharaoh and his guardians." Lena adjusted her pack. "And the artifacts we took will help us study the civilization, understand their technology, and share knowledge responsibly. That is far more valuable than gold." Nina hovered the drone overhead. The pyramid is silent now, but the guardians are never truly gone. They will continue to watch, waiting for those who are unworthy. The pharaoh's legacy remains alive in that chamber. Rami took one last look at the pyramid before climbing into the transport. We have succeeded not because we were brave, but because we were wise and respectful. That is the lesson I will never forget. As the transport moved across the desert, the pyramid faded into the distance, but its memory remained vivid. The team carried more than artifacts. They carried knowledge, humility, and the understanding that respect for the past is the greatest treasure of all. The sun set behind the distant dunes, casting long shadows across the desert. The pyramid stood silently, eternal and unchanging, its mummies still guarding the pharaoh's treasure, and its lessons waiting for the next worthy explorers who dared to enter with honor and wisdom. Rami leaned back, feeling a sense of peace. We have learned what few ever will. The pharaoh's true treasure is not gold or jewels, but wisdom, patience, and respect. We have received it, and that is enough. The team watched the desert stretch out before them, golden and quiet. The adventure had ended, but the lessons of the pharaoh, the mummies, and the treasure vault would remain with them forever. They had faced the tests, respected the guardians, and returned wiser, carrying the pharaoh's legacy into the world.